hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Thank you for watching the show. It takes courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And if you're catching us live or if you're catching us on replay, stay tuned because we have an amazing high value conversation, and I have a very special, beautiful guest today. I think she and I we probably like last time we spoke was maybe a couple of years ago. Yes, it has been that long. None of us could remember the last time we talked. And she's an amazing mindset mentor and also a number one international best-selling author of the book. The answer is you. So Mimi, welcome.
Hello, Izzy. Lovely to see you. And thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm so humbly grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimi. It's such a pleasure. Mimi and I, we worked together on her book project. The answer is you. That was how we got connected. And, since then, we've got a couple partnerships here and there, but there's always something that connects us, doesn't it, Mimi? That's like, the thing with when you work with someone, you got to have this connection that is
Yeah.
this warmth. And do you feel that is one of the reasons that we connected, or when you connect with someone else? Is it because of their vibration? Is it because of their heart? Is it because of the intention? Is it because the way of their look and they're wearing Chanel today? What is it that connects one person to another, Mimi?
Well, nothing happens by chance. We actually draw everything to us. So it's a vibration. Whoever's on the same vibrational energy pattern that we are, when we attract them into our life, that's positive and negative as well. So when you set an intention of something that you want to achieve, you put that out there in the universe, and whoever's on that same vibrational frequency will come into your life. You'll attract those people that are on the same vibration as what you are emitting.
Beautiful. And like setting the intention. And just before we came on live today, both Mimi and I, we set our intention that, be given the courage to express our truth and the freedom and whatever that the conversation that we have today is for the highest good. And that is something that Mimi, that you have been a lifelong journey for you, because I know with your book, The Answer Is You, it wasn't something that came up ta-da, within 24 hours. I had this idea, but it was like over a 20, 30-year journey. So what made you kind of like transition into that? So first, like, where did you start? Were you in corporate before? Were you in academic before? And then how did you transition to where you are now?
So really, my whole journey was more it was a journey of trying to find myself, really. That's how the journey started. Izzy, as you know, like when we are born, we're born into families and we're born into circumstances, and that our parents and the people that are bringing us up are doing the very best that they can with the knowledge and information that they have at the time. But we get programmed and coded by certain things that that we're seeing, what we're told to think and believe about ourselves, and then these become how we see the whole world. So for me, I had quite I wouldn't say a bad start, but I had quite a pitfall driven start. I was always told that I was dirty and disgusting. I had lots of limitations that women are seen and to be seen and not heard. So the beginning was quite profound in how I started my life's journey. That then led me to creating relationships that were very painful, very abusive, because that's what I thought I deserved because of this coding. So I really started the mission to really transform myself. So that was the whole point of the journey. But I did have a calling at a very young age. So when I was about 4, I used to have a reoccurring dream that I won't tell you the details of it, but it was very much telling me that I was here with a mission. So then as I sort of started on this journey, I understood why the pain and suffering occurred, because then you can't teach something unless you've really been through it all yourself, because then you can understand the process of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like so interesting that you were given a sign when you were, or a dream when you were 4 years old. Like, look, Mimi, like talk is cheap, right? A lot of people talk and talk and talk, but very rarely people walk the walk. So
Yeah.
let's say, for like cooking, right? If you want to teach, like do a cooking show, but you hardly cook,
Yeah.
then like how can you like have a cooking show just looking pretty and spin the spatula? Isn't gonna work. So
Totally.
you kind of like went through that journey so that you could take all those key lessons and the wisdom and then process them and then help others
Yeah.
with your book, with your courses. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. What is like the one thing that you learn or that's in your book, one of the principles in your books perhaps, or one of your courses that that people, the audience that are listening today, can start or can start to apply?
Well, every single thing, Izzy, it begins and ends in our own minds. So we are the whole of the creation. It's like we are creating everything ourselves. Even though we might not know it at the time, we are. So our thoughts are very powerful, as you know. We live in a thought-based universe. So every single thing that we're thinking is having an effect on our life. But more than that, our thoughts are speaking to our bodies. Our bodies are a communication system. So we are constantly, through the words, through the things that we think about, creating every aspect of our life. So one thing that I realized through this life's journey was that the answer is you. That's why I wrote the book, The Answer Is You, because the answer is you, the problem is you, and the solution is you. So when you understand that, you can learn to master yourself, which means learning to think on purpose, which is so powerful. That means that nothing externally can ever affect your life because you are always in control of how you respond to every single situation in your life. So whatever's going on outside of you, it doesn't have an effect within your own reality.
And that is key, right, Mimi? Because we live in a culture where we kind of like encourage victimization or
Yeah,
playing the blame game. Whatever, the cat, the neighbor, the mom, the dad, we live in a culture that kind of like see that as a normal thing. So what you're saying is that it's actually the opposite of
yeah,
that. Like whatever happens to you, you have the potential and the possibility, at the very least, to think how it can be different, and it starts from there, right? Thinking like the end. How? What if? What
yeah.
if I'm not here? What if I can beat this? What if we can have that? So talk us through about that process from your own experience. Because I in your book you mentioned that you started in a journey in a relationship that wasn't so great. Like you said, you attracted certain kind of men because that's what you believed that you're worth, like
Yeah,
you couldn't have anything more than that.
yeah.
So talk about how you kind of like use that, having the end in mind. Like if I could have this kind of relationship,
Yeah,
even though where I am now sucks,
yeah.
how would it look like?
Well, I think, Izzy, I think for me, like, you have to go back to the foundation of who you are, because otherwise you're
Mm,
always building a house on a foundation that's not solid. So when you have
mm,
a firm foundation and know who you are, not the person you've been told you are, not the program person that's always responding to your programs and your emotions that are embedded in you, but you know the truth of who you are. We are spiritual beings having a very human experience, but we have all the power within us. We've just never been taught how to utilize it and bring it to life. So we have to learn to live by our higher faculties, which means that for me, when I understood the process of life, because there's laws in the life, when we understand
mm,
the laws and we follow them, life becomes a game and it becomes easy, especially when you take full responsibility, when you understand that actually I'm creating this pain and suffering. I didn't know I was at the time, but I do now. So now it changes everything and it becomes exciting. So what you do is you place all your focus. You have to have a vision of what you want. So if it's a loving relationship, what does that look like to you? What does the person look like? Who would you become to be that
mm,
in that loving relationship? So you have to hold that vision on the screen of your mind, but then you have to take away your senses, because we live our life by our senses of what we see, hear, feel, and that's just our programming. But we have to go by our higher faculties of our imagination, our will, our perception, and create and maintain that vision and live in that imagination, in that state as if it's already occurred. And then that's when the magic starts happening. But the more you plant that seed, as you know, and you want something and you're constantly digging it up to see where is it, you're just pushing it further away because you're basically telling the universe that it doesn't exist. And if you don't feel worthy of receiving what you want, you're never going to receive it either. So the work really starts with yourself. You have to plant the foundations and you have to know who you are, know that you're worthy of love, know that you are capable of achieving anything you want because you're already whole and complete. You just have to remove yourself from the equation of all the reasons you tell yourself you can't have what you want.
100%. And speaking of this worthy and worthy, I hear this a lot on female entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, right? Oh, I don't think I'm worthy of it, so that's why I'm not going to go for my dreams. Like I remember when I had my third child, Rehan, he's 18 months now. So, when I gave birth to him, right? There's nothing in his forehead that say not worthy.
Yeah.
Like considering that he is already born, and like you and I already born a champion, because like over 300 million stuff that we had to swim through, that we made it. So we're already born worthy. We're already born a champion, and consider that I am already worthy. I am worthy. That there's no if and but then life happens and it messes with our who we truly are, right? So how do we kind of like, I would say, go past through the blocks or go around it through the blocks? Some people say the only way is through, some people say just go around it. So when we're experiencing this kind of blocks, whether situations happen in our life, obviously it affects us, trauma, sadness, it affects us. So how can we still hold on to ourselves, like holding that vision in our mind, but also kind of take a step forward? Sometimes it's really hard. So what would you say in that situation?
Well, the thing is, the reason why it's so hard is because we're so programmed. You've got to remember, we live in a very negative world. And I believe that the world is created by man to keep us negative and to keep us, that's another chat, but we have to be very conscious of the world we're living in. And we've got to stop buying into everything we're told, all the beliefs we're fed. It's not true. If you think about it, we can walk over hot coals. If a woman, if your child is underneath a car, we have the strength to go and lift that car up when we take ourselves out of the equation. So we're not weak and helpless victims at all. We're very powerful creators. So what we do is we focus on all the things we don't want. We talk about all the things we don't want, all the things that are going wrong. But every single thing that's been created in your life today is only a vibrational interpretation of where you have been focusing, what you've been talking about, what you've been thinking about. So that just means that you can stop that whole process right now. And you do that by developing awareness of yourself, because you have to learn, you have to stop and listen to yourself. When I think that, when I'm feeling that, when I'm doing that, how is that making me feel? Because you have to learn to become the observer of your own program, so you can then delete the program and replace the program. But what I find is a lot of therapies do, they're constantly taking you back to the time when you were unhappy. Well, this happened when you were 6. All that does is help you to relive it, and it just opens it up even more, so you're never getting past it. It's about, most of the trauma that we have, and I suffered a lot of trauma in my life, so I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but most of it's worse in our minds than when it actually happens, because we make things up. It's proven scientifically that 50% of what happened to us never happened the way it did. We fantasize about it, we build those pictures in our mind. So instead of thinking about the things we don't want, let's build a vision of the things we do want. Let's build a vision of the life we do want, and put all our focus and attention over in that direction. Because as you know, Izzy, what you feed your mind becomes your reality. So the more you take your mind off the things you don't want, you're actually detaching the neurons in your brain, and you're firing and wiring new possibilities. And your brain doesn't know if something's real or if it's not real. It just obeys you, and it will give you what you keep commanding it to give you over time. But it takes practice, and it takes discipline and focus.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting that you say, right? Like, because we feed ourselves a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So we might as well feed ourselves something that is going to be of service to us. And it's
Yeah.
not going to happen immediately because it takes a lot of training. Like you said, it takes a lot of discipline. And it's as if we're running a marathon. So, like, the other day, one of my friend Judy, she's a marathon runner. And Friday evening, she's like, hey, let's meet up. I'm running a marathon tomorrow. Meet me, come and run the marathon with me, and then we go and have lunch. And then me, I haven't even run a mile for like since high school, right? So like obviously I like if I were to go and join the marathon, I would need to be resuscitated on mile two, like that would like happen. But
Yes.
if I were like to train myself, run 500 meters, a day and then increase it and then increase it and slowly, 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 and I could do the full marathon if I wanted to, even the half marathon. So the moment that what you're saying, Mimi, the moment that you start to think, because what you focus on expands. So the
Yeah.
moment you start to think about something that is not being of service to you, thank you very much. But this is what I'm gonna be focusing on.
Yeah,
This
because
is what really matters.
you have the ability to accept or reject any thought. You don't have to believe, and you don't have to accept every thought you think. But Izzy, a lot of people work with the mind, but it's not just the mind. 95% of our programs are subconscious, meaning below consciousness, means that we're not even aware of what's running us. 5% with our conscious mind is what is attached to our spiritual level, 5% with our wishes and desires. So what we have to do is, it's our body that's conditioned. It's like you saying, I'm going on a diet. Tomorrow I'm going to be really good. And then you go unconscious. 2 minutes later, you're on the settee eating a tub of Haagen-Dazs, and you've gone completely unconscious. And you're like, well, what's happened? It's because your body is the one that's conditioned. It has chemical addictions. It craves those feelings of, oh, you don't feel good enough. You don't feel worthy. So, why are you going to do that? Well, so it sabotages you and limits you, because it's your body that's controlling your mind. So like riding a wild horse, you have to keep getting on that wild horse and saying, I'm in control. Like, all you're doing is trying to protect yourself from getting hurt. So you built up mechanisms when you was a child that maybe something happened and you thought, I never want to experience that again. So your body's still keeping you safe, but now it's hindering you. So you now have to say to your body and your mind, I'm in control. Thank you so much. But I'm going to sit here and teach my body what it feels like to be happy. I'm going to teach my body what it feels like to be healthy. And as I say to my clients, don't change your diet. Just go for a walk to the lamppost. Incorporate positive things. Eat one apple a day, because the happier you become, you won't want to have all that bad stuff, because you eat most of that stuff because you're feeling not happy. So the happier you become, the more in love with life and everything else, you live a healthier life.
Yeah, it's kind of like those things are just numbing you, right? But if you truly are living who you are, like accepting yourself exactly the way you are and exactly the way you are not, despite your mistakes, despite your failures, you can start to be like more, I would say, more compassionate,
Yeah.
more kind. Because for me, like I can be the hardest person on myself.
Yes.
Forget other people, but I'm the hardest person on myself. Oh, you haven't done this and this, but I'm already up by 4:30 in the morning. God knows, like the million things that I have done, but it's always like being the hardest on myself. But I think like having a positive mindset is also being kind to yourself, like appreciating
Yeah.
what you do. That's why a lot of people, and I think in your book as well, I mean, you mentioned about gratitude or appreciation, just kind of like listing down that what are things that you are thankful for, and the things that you don't have but you are thankful for, like kind of being the end in mind, like, oh, thank you God for helping me to have X amount of money in your bank account. It hasn't happened yet, but you kind of like experiencing, thank you, God, for giving me a fantastic, loving relationship with this person, but it hasn't happened yet. So let's kind of like walk through kind of like positive affirmation or positive intention, that, however that we want to call it. Walk us through in setting that, because I find sometimes when I set that intention, when I have a lot of fear going on, it overrides. So
Yeah.
it doesn't work when you have like high fear, high insecurity, or whatever it is that's going on. When that part is high and then you want to set intention, it always overrides, because then you create that to yourself. So let's talk about this setting a positive intention that is empowered, that is going to be impactful to us.
But it's like, is he like you saying, words don't teach. Knowledge and information is important, but it's just knowledge and information unless you act on it. So it's like you've been programmed to think fearful or to disbelieve in yourself. And then you're telling yourself 100 times a day, I love myself, I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm worth loving, your subconscious isn't even going to accept it. It gets kicked out immediately. And of course, through repetition, that's how we learn things. You repeat things, especially when you're going to bed at night. Just as you're going to go to sleep, you record a device and you play just before you're going to sleep, because that's when you can reprogram the subconscious. But you can't trick it. For me, I would rather look at everything, like I said, I like to go to the foundation, because when you know who you are and who you truly are, you don't suffer fears. Fears then dissipate. They don't stay as much anymore. You have to remember, like, everything that runs us is a belief. And we have a belief that unless you work hard, you're never going to make it. Unless you put in this, unless you do this, you can't be successful. They're just beliefs. It's not true. And I used to be, when you met me, I used to be terrible. I used to be so hard on myself. Now I've stopped. I don't have that anymore. Because if you think about it, creation is complete. Creation, it tells us in the Bible that every single thing you want is complete. We don't die and go to heaven. We're living in heaven. But we create hell for ourselves by the way we think, the way we speak, the stories we tell ourselves. So all we have to do to live heaven on earth is to get rid of, to let go of all those beliefs, all those thoughts, everything that's not serving us, that's keeping us fearful, that's making us react to certain things. Because when you understand that creation is complete and you're the only person that's causing yourself the pain, why would you want to cause yourself pain when you could be happy every single day? And again, it's just a programming. And when you overcome yourself and you let go of the person that you've been told that you are, and you recreate yourself in the image of how you want to be seen, and you walk as that person, talk as that person, suddenly you start believing that you are that person. So over time, like going to the gym, you don't develop a six-pack over one night. You have to keep it. But it's exciting because you get up every day and you're like, oh, what would a wealthy person be like? What would a happy person be like? If I want to be healthy and they've told me I've got a week to live because I've got cancer, what would a healthy person have to think like? How would I be? You can't keep looking at the illness. You would be feeling healthy. You'd be feeling happy. You'd be feeling, what am I going to plan for the next 5-10 years? So you have to change your consciousness, and then the reality around you will fit in because of the changes you made inside yourself. So it's always back to front. We're always looking externally to fix the internal, where we have to go internally and do the work ourselves, and then the external changes.
Yeah, I think that is like so true, because you have full control on your thoughts, right? On your
Yeah.
body, on how you act, how you greet people, how you speak. Like you have full control over that. And I remember this when I was working with this contractor, I set the requirements, I set the timeline, the deadline, the budget, and everything. We agreed upon it, come to like making the payment. I'm like, okay, just send me the invoice and I make the payment. And she's like, oh, she wants to do it this way. And sometimes when you make a payment, as the transaction fee, like for me, my business policy is that I don't cover the transaction fee for my contractors. The contractors cover their own transaction fee. So I told her that. And then she started to go berserk. Like she started to have like this whole email that says, you talk about woman empowerment, but you're a disgrace to woman. You do this, you do this. My microphone went like this. My family went like this. And I'm like, how am I like, what does the microphone have to do with me? What does the family to do with me? But thinking about that, right? I was sucked into that
Yeah.
energy, right? Easily sucked into the energy. And then I'm like, hang on a minute. Who am I? How can I react? What can I do? Who can I be? What is my standards in kind of responding to this person? Because clearly this is not, this is someone who likes to play victim.
Yeah.
But what can I be responsible for? So when I had a reflection, oh, I'm responsible for making an assumption that she would absorb the transaction fee. Oh, I make an assumption that I didn't communicate with her. So I own it. I communicate with her. Right. I take responsibility. I did this. I did this. I did this. I will pay the transaction fee, but moving forward, I'm not going to do it anymore. And she starts to da 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 again. So I'm like, okay, this is my standards. Thank you for your communication. The project is now complete. Wishing you all the best.
Yeah.
So, like exactly what you were saying, Mimi, I get sucked into all the drama, right? But who you are, that you can hold that standard for yourself.
Yeah.
And even though it's hard to hold that standard, and then like what you were saying, when people say things about you have the power to choose to listen to it or to not. But it's not easy, Mimi, because a lot of people don't have the tools
No.
like what you have, like maybe like a portion of I have.
Yeah. And it takes discipline, Izzy. The way I look at it, one good thing that you can start doing is when you develop awareness, when you understand that life is happening, it's not happening to you, it's happening through you. So life is a reflection of you. So every single person that comes to you, if you're having a happy meeting with them, great. But if somebody's like not speaking to you nicely, or if something's going well, look at it as in, what are they bringing up inside of me? So what is it? So someone's standing there and they're making me feel so. What am I feeling? I feel really disappointed. Why do I feel disappointed? Because I really want them to respect me. So then I go back and think, where did I not, where am I not respecting myself? And why do I feel so disappointed? Because I felt disappointed as a child that I wasn't protected, that nobody helped me. So it always goes back. So it's that feeling that's running you. So because then you've got that feeling, how can I respect myself? How can I feel less disappointed in myself? So you fix it yourself. So it's not about them, it's about you. And then as you start growing consciously, so as you start growing and developing, then you can look at the situation. And when you've no longer got a trigger is an emotional hit, you can look at it and think, oh, there's nothing coming up. So even though they may be angry, all it means is that they're not triggering you to respond, which means that you're no longer that program. You have transcended the program, which is an amazing thing, because all you've done is brought yourself back to wholeness again. And that's the whole of the journey. One thing I would say to any listener that's listening, people always say, well, we're not born with a manual like a car, so we don't know how to operate ourselves. But that's not correct. We actually are born with a manual, and the manual that God gave us, or the universe gave us, is our emotions. So when we feel happy, that means that we are in alignment with our true inner self. When we feel depressed, anxiety, worry, or anything else, means that we're looking at the situation in complete opposite to how our true inner self is looking at it. So like the hot and cold game, all you've got to do is put yourself back into alignment. If that means going for a walk, listening to music, do things that lift your vibration, because the higher your vibration is, the higher momentum, the more you're going to attract more things to you. So if you're on a subject that you're stuck on, or if it's weight, if it's a relationship, if it's money or whatever, because you're focused on it so much, you're putting a negative vibration onto it. Get off the subject. Go and do things that make you feel happy. If that's playing with the children, going for a walk, going water skiing, do something that really makes you feel good, because you're making yourself feel happy, which then means that this problem over here will look completely different when you come back to it again. So that's just a little tip that might help somebody.
That is, spot on what you're saying. Shift your focus on something that, things can be going on that is hard.
Yeah,
We have to deal with a lot of things as a human being, as a mom, as an aunt, as a sister, as a wife, or as a husband, as a business owner, whatever that is. We have to do things a lot, and there'll be times when I'm like too focused on that particular thing, that client or that project or that money part, then we get anxiety. Me personally, I would get anxiety, like, oh my God, what else could go wrong? And that is not healthy. So meaning you're like, okay, yes, this is going on. We're not negating it, but we're kind of shifting to what makes me happy. Playing with the kids, going to the playground, cooking, and then kind of like centering yourself
yeah,
before you act. One of the things that I practice is that whenever I have high anxiety, high stress, or when I'm angry, I don't reply on the email straight away. I
definitely.
don't, because that's a big disaster that I have learned. Like you said, like what is it? Like you process it. Like I process it. I go to the garden, go to the grounding, walking, process it. Take 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it is, and then come back to that email when I'm centered, when I'm grounded, when I'm clear, when I'm calm. Because let me tell you, Mimi, it was a disaster when I act emotionally, right? Kind of like, which if nobody wants to be vomited
Yeah,
of your past experiences, because sometimes we speak through our trauma, through
yeah,
our past experiences, and that person doesn't deserve that. So
no,
let's talk about kind of like the thing that happened in the past. I know you mentioned something like, therapists tend to go back to it over and over and over again, to the point you're like, I'm sick of this. I
yeah,
don't want to have this program in
yeah,
me anymore. It's part of, yes, it was part of my previous blueprint,
yeah,
but I want to delete that
yeah,
program. I want to upgrade. So
yes.
what are the ways that we can, as we going into 2023, what are the ways that we can upgrade ourselves to the higher version of us, the best version of us, the version that we know who we are, that is should be living the life. So how can we have an upgrade on ourselves?
Well, because I think is that you have to set an intention, like you said earlier. You have to. Nobody can change unless they decide they want to change. Because and we're not here to force anyone to change. That's not part of our life's journey. Everyone's on their life's journey, and if they change or they stay stuck, that's entirely down to them. And we're not here, and we're not allowed to really to interfere with anyone. All we can be is the example of what happiness looks like, of what living a happier life feels like, and showing them. So I never tell people unless they come and ask me. I healed my body.
Mm.
I done it all on the internal. So when I speak now, I speak from my truth, from the heart, because I know that it works. And so all I would say is, unless you have a clear vision of what you want, because people say, I want to be happy. What does happiness mean to you? Well, I want to find a relationship. Why? Because I'm unhappy and I feel unloved. But then you're going to meet people, you're going to attract them that are unhappy in their own lives and feel the same way as you. So first of all, know exactly what you want and really detail it. Write it down as if, like you said, as if you're already living it. I'm so happy and grateful now that 2023 or 2022 has been the best year of my life. I met my dream partner. He looks like this, she looks like that. This is what I achieved. This is how I felt, as if you're already living it. Because when you have that vision, every single time you go back into the program because you're unconscious, then you're going to get triggered and you're going to react. But when you have a vision, and this vision now has new emotions in it that you've embedded into it, that's going to override any old program with any old memorized emotions in it. So the more you read this every morning, every night, you're building and building and building that model, so that eventually when you get triggered by something from the past, you're like, well, actually, do I want to respond? Because this is where I'm going. That's where I came from. But every time you respond, you're pushing that further away. You don't want to respond anymore. You're like, nah, it's not worth it. And then you start buying into the vision, because you know that what you want has already been created. The minute you speak it into the universe, it's already done. You just have to get out of your own way and allow it to flow to you. So definitely. And you were talking about getting triggered and everything else. as you were saying, the best way to do that is to shut yourself down. So to excuse yourself, just 1 moment, sorry, I forgot, I've got a phone call, I need to make a call, whatever, I'll be back, thank you so much. Just excuse yourself, get out the conversation, take yourself away, just sit down, place your hand on your heart and just breathe really deeply, because when you breathe, you reset yourself. And then in that state, when you take back control, you're not reacting, you can then respond from a place of power and a place of authority rather than from a place of anger or a place of disappointment. Because remember, Izzy, you always get from people what you expect of them. People will always say to you what you expect from them as well. So people are just reflecting again yourself. So when you start cleaning yourself up, letting go of any blockages and resistance, you notice that you don't actually have to change the outside. People will either meet your new vibration or they'll no longer be in your life because they're not a match to who you are now.
Yeah, and it's kind of like people, when you start to hold yourself to the best version of who you are and be unapologetic about who you are, people who are not in alignment start to disqualify themselves from your life. So they're like, oh yeah, I don't think we're gonna be working anymore. Oh, I have another project. I'm like, oh, fantastic! Thank God for that. Right now, I don't have to. They're disqualifying themselves from being in my arena or being in my energy field. So that makes my life easy. Before I'd be like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Why did he doesn't he doesn't want to work with them now? Thank God. No, I can create this. And I think it's so key, Mimi, because do not diminish yourself.
No.
You're not meant to diminish yourself to try and fit other people, but you're meant to be you. Like, your job is not to bow down to people's insecurities. Your job is to shine and be who you are. Like the other day, I was interviewing a team member. There were two. So I interviewed the first one. And, one of the things that God gave us is our gut, right? Our heart, our gut, our intuition, whatever you want to call it. And immediately I don't feel a connection. And I tried to pull myself down to her level, but I couldn't. It was exhausting for me. And then I'm like, okay, fantastic. Not that she's bad or anything, but she's fantastic at what she does, but we're just not in alignment. I remember in the entire conversation, she was in the dark. There was light here, and she was always in the dark. I'm like, can you move to the light? Move a little bit. She goes to the sky. Why are you hiding? I need to see you. And then the second person that I interviewed was like, was so bright, that bright light. I stepped back. She got me at hello, and I could feel it. So I think it's important to not diminish yourself, but own who you are and be unapologetic about what you believe in and the core of who you are, and trust your gut. And I think you're pretty intuitive to Mimi, because we've worked together before. You're pretty intuitive. You have this gut feeling that guides you. All right, yes, this is the person. Or no, that is not person. Do you feel like over the years that the more you start to trust in here, and a combination of here and here, the more that your life becomes more predictable, or in a way it flows on the way that you want.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's a saying, when you're in your head, you're dead, and when you're in your heart, you thrive. One thing I realized, it's not really being in your head, it is literally your heart. When we were created, the first part of us that was created before any other part was our hearts, because God created our hearts, because that's who we are. It's love. We are love. So whenever anything feels bad to us, it's because it's in complete opposition to who we truly are. So that's why, but if you're living with someone in a relationship and you're not truly happy, your feelings, they tell you, then you have all these illnesses and circumstances, things that come out in your bodies, but that's just because you're in disharmony with what you truly want. Every single person that I work with, they all say, I don't know what I want. You do. You all know what you want, but you have just, over the years, formed beliefs that I can't have it. I've got children, or I'm married, or this is happening. I'll never be able to live the life that I truly always envisioned. But you can. And the thing is, unless you really live, our souls, the reason why we're so unhappy is well, we've been led to believe, like false programming, that the car, the hunt, the money, the house will bring us happiness. And then we attain all these things and we're still miserable. But really, it's our soul. We're here for expansion and growth. We want newness. We need fulfillment. We need uplifting. We want to be around people that can fulfill us. And that's where we sort of like always feel. So when we don't have that, we then dive more into alcohol and overeating and having affairs and doing all the things we shouldn't do because we're not happy within internally. But nothing externally is going to fix that. It's because our soul's crying out for us to expand and grow and to be around like-minded people. So that's the whole part of it. But no, you're 100% right. It's about knowing yourself, really listening to yourself, going within and asking yourself, is this the right thing that I should be doing? Because you've got the answers inside of you, what you already want, and be around people that are going to uplift you. I think it's really important that if you're going to work with anybody, if you're going to choose to speak to certain people, make sure they're people that have the vision, that have done what you want to do. Because as I said, there's loads of people that have knowledge and information, but they have never put anything into practice. There's people teaching people how to make 8 figures. They're living in squalor. People that are teaching how to heal their body and they're 20 stone overweight, and like be a representation of what you're actually teaching people. I think it's so important.
Beautiful and beautifully said, Mimi. And also, you touched something about, our body, it would be showing us certain signs that when we are in disharmony with our true self or our true vision, or people would show us certain signs when they are disharmony of who we are. Doesn't mean that they're bad people, it just means that we're not in alignment at this moment in time with that lady, right, who's always in the dark. I'm like, I can't even see her eyes, okay? And I'm like, I'm like trying to have a conversation with her. So I get it because I used to be like that before. I used to be in a leadership program, and one of the things I had to do is to man the registration booth, and I would be hiding, like even though I was physically there, but people would sign up to my right or sign up to my left. They bypassed me when I was there because I was hiding, right? But the moment I'm like, okay, and I told my friend, look, this is what's happening. And then I was crying because it messes up my leadership stats. And she's like, are you like playing the invisible game? No, I was there physically. No, that means like you don't want people to see you. So the next time, I will pretty hijab, I smile, I made eye contact. They're like, you come to me. And they came to me one line, not to my right or not to my left. And people are like, why are they all signing up to you? Because I'm awesome. And at the moment you got to own yourself, right?
Yeah.
That is like the whole conversation, like the answer is you with your book. Mimi, do you have a copy of your book here? The answer is you. Yes, the answer is you. And that was, yes, that was, Meti Purple with the book. Like, who would have thought, right? So that is perfect timing.
Yeah,
can the audience get a copy of the book, Mimi?
Yeah, so sorry, it's there. So you can get a copy of the book on my website, which is mimibland.london, or it's on Amazon. It's on Kindle, I think. Actually, Izzy, you helped me do this book. Yeah, you have. And I'm just literally now writing book number 2 and book number 3. So hopefully that will be out next year. So
that is exciting. Thank you so much, Mimi, for having this very deep but very connected, grounded, impactful conversation. It will always be such a pleasure having a conversation with you, and not just like something meaningful, right? That's what I crave in the conversation, something meaningful, something I can learn, something I can take with me, and hopefully the audience, the you who are listening live, or those of you who are catching the replay, we hope that you can take something from this conversation. So Mimi, let's kind of wrap up. What would be 1 or 2 things that you can say to the audience as they move in their life, as they're starting to rewire things that hang on a minute, the answer is me. I have to change first. For things to change, I have to change first. What's a couple of little gems that you can share with them when we
I,
wrap up?
I would say to everyone, like, don't believe everything you're told, number one.
Mm,
And understand that you're more powerful than you could ever imagine. You know, you're God's highest form of creation. You are whole and complete. There is nothing that you cannot do. All limitations, everything begins and ends in the mind. So whatever you want, you can have, be, do, or have anything. You just have to believe that you can. So the first step is by developing awareness of yourself. And developing awareness is just really starting to listen to yourself. How do you think? How do you respond? How do you feel when someone's talking to you? Because all you're doing is starting to get awareness of the program that's been created, not by you, by other people, but that program is dictating every single area of your life. So when you can develop awareness, you can start changing that pattern. I would say the next thing is you have to have a very clear vision. That's so important, because if you don't have a vision of where you're going and what you want to attain, you're constantly just stuck like on loop. You don't go any, life will never change for you. You'll be living the same life every single year, being the same person. So who do you want to become? What do you actually want in your life? And you know, what does that look like and feel like to you? The third one I'll say is really start believing in yourself. And how you do that is by literally understanding that you have just been programmed by society and by other people, but not in a harm, not they didn't mean to. Everyone's just living by default. So now you're going to take full responsibility for your life. So who do you want to be? How does that person look like? What would you be walking as, talking as? What would you be living as? Like, really build the picture, because you can be anyone. So let your imagination run crazy, and then build an image and keep that on the forefront of your mind. And every day before you wake up, run through that movie of your new life, because the old you is going to now be put to the side, and we're now going to create a whole new you that you're going to step in and walk, talk, become that person, until you trick your mind so much that eventually you wake up and you're just that person. You're living that new life.
beautiful. And then I just got, the things that you mentioned about holding that vision, because I had a vision of being a TEDx speaker, but I haven't yet. But I had that vision, me on stage, to the clothes I wear, to the hijab and everything. And oh my God, like every time I go to a TEDx organizer to put myself forward, they rejected me. So I
Yeah.
said, no, 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 no. But I had that vision, right? I had that vision. I hold on to it. I even bought myself a gift card that said, congratulations for being on the TEDx. So I haven't even had it yet, but
Yeah.
holding on to it. And it's like a playtime, right? Maybe you just keep on playing
Yeah.
on your dreams and just being into that and stepping into that and doing the work, whatever that, like for example, me being a tech speaker, then obviously I need to get on stages, I need to practice my physicality story, whatever that is, and the day will come. It is inevitable.
Yeah,
The day will
and
come.
yeah, sorry, Izzy, all I'd say to the listeners that are listening as well, that, you know, life is responding to you. The
Mm.
thoughts you're thinking is creating everything. And as you just said about your TED speech, when I went to Dubai a few weeks ago, I decided I wanted to jump out of a plane. I was petrified of heights. I couldn't even go on a roller coaster. I called my son up when I was over there, and he said, "Mum, you can't even go on a pink elephant ride. What are you doing?" But what I had done for weeks beforehand, I practiced. I was going on that plane. I was seeing my face. I had no fear, and I was jumping out, and I was thinking I was a bird. When the day came, I suited and booted. I got on that plane. I'm on this plane. I'm sitting on my instructor's lap. Everyone's crying on the plane, and I'm saying to them, "Sort yourself out. Change your thinking." But as I got to the edge of the plane and I'm looking down, and my instructor said, "Put your head to the right. We're going to jump." Nothing
Right.
was inside my body. And as I jumped out, it was only the falling that I hadn't had the expectation of, because I hadn't experienced it. But it was exactly as I planned it in my dreams. And I was like, wow, I want to do it again. You know, it's like, so you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse till eventually it becomes part of reality, because it will become part of reality. But that goes for what you want and what you don't want, Izzy, as well. So it's very important. Don't focus on the things you don't want to bring into your life. Only focus on the end result that you do want to have.
Beautiful. And when the things that you don't want pop into place, it's like, thank you very much. I'm choosing to focus on that, because it is going to come out.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mimi. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversation. And for those of you who are interested to find out about Mimi, she's on social media. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. Just search for mimibland.london on Instagram. And she is there. You wouldn't miss her. Like, she is there. Like, every day I open my Instagram, I'm like, Mimi's at the top of my feed. You know, she is there. Mimi is also more than that, that you're also very nurturing. You're also very giving. You're also very warm. Like, you would do whatever it takes to help people sometimes, you know, like sometimes it's like way beyond what you could help, but you would express yourself in any way that you can. So, you know, for those of you who would love to find out more about Mimi, just reach out to her at Instagram, mimibland.london. And also your website is mimibland.london as well, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Izzy. I mean, my whole mission as a child, and it's not changed, is to eliminate all pain and suffering in the world. And when we realize that we're the cause of our pain and suffering, like literally just drop it, like just, you know, just start walking in peace and harmony, because we are here to live a joyful life experience. That's the only reason we're here, to experience all of life. But it doesn't mean we have to keep reliving the painful parts that we don't want anymore, you know. And just, you really do deserve to live a happy life. Everybody does. We deserve to experience love. We deserve to experience anything we want to experience in this lifetime. So, you know, no more excuses. Like, really start pushing yourself forward to live in the life that you really want to live, because we're only here just one time.
Beautiful. And you get to make that decision. Like, the answer is you. You get to make that decision. Thank you so much, Mimi. What a fantastic conversation. For those of you who are listening, we're back again the same time next week, Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Until the next episode, this is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Tell yourself, yes, I can. And so it is done. Mimi, let's say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.